Mercedes F1 will change everything. As you all know, the FIA is due to issue a compliance certificate soon to the teams that operated within last year's cap. However, paddock sources indicate that when the final accounting has been completed, both Red Bull Racing and Aston Martin are likely to be reported as having breached the cap. The financial regulations contain a list of potential penalties for both minor and material breaches. The Aston Martin case is believed to be a minor breach of less than 5% or around 7 million over the 2021 limit. However, in Red Bull's case, sources suggest that it could be a material breach of over 5%, which would carry a much tougher penalty. Sanctions available to the FIA even include exclusion from the championship. As you all know, from last year, there was a lot of controversy between Max Verstappen's Drivers' Championship win, where he actually won the last race in Abu Dhabi. Now, there was a lot of controversy whether the FIA rewarded him the win by giving him a lot of benefits during the race when the safety car came out, and there is a lot to that story. However, when it comes to what happened, obviously Max Verstappen ended up winning the Drivers' Championship, and Lewis Hamilton was unable to win his 8th and finally beating Michael Schumacher for most Drivers' Championships. However, with the breach that they have just had, it does seem that if it actually is true, their exclusion from the championship would make Lewis Hamilton finally win his 8th. Now, the situation is seen by many in the paddock as a significant test case for Ben and his team, as an overspend last year would have been beneficial not just for the 2021 World Championship, but for this year's as well, given the development program for 2022 cars. Wolff, who discussed the matter with Ferrari opposite number Mattia Binotto on Friday in Singapore, is adamant that the FIA must come down hard if a team is proven to have overspent. The cost cap is probably the most important evolution of regulations in order to keep a level playing field, said Wolff, and to allow teams that have gotten the full budget to catch up and to put the ceiling onto the spending of the top teams. So it is a huge importance for a demonstration that these regulations are policed. And I have no reason to believe otherwise. The FIA, particularly Mohammed, have shown a pretty robust stance on enforcing all kinds of regulations. So I think we're talking now about something big. He will show the same integrity and leadership that he's done before. Asked if a potential breach by Red Bull compromised last year, title battle Wolff declined to go into specifics. I have no information at that stage, if they are in breach, but how much they are in breach, and obviously being in breach in 1 year means you're probably in breach of a second year and potentially a third year. And once that is clarified, I'm sure lots of discussions are going to take off about what effect it would have, but it's too early at this stage to comment. The FIA has responded to speculation of cost cap breaches and states no judgment will be made until it completes its assessments. The FIA is currently finalizing the assessment of the 2021 financial data submitted by all Formula One teams. Alleged breaches of the financial regulations, if any, will be dealt with according to the formal process set out in regulations, and FIA statement read. The FIA notes significant and unsubstantiated speculation and conjecture in relation to this matter, and reiterates that the assessment is ongoing and due process will be followed without consideration to any external discussion. So this is really important because, as you all know, the reason why Lewis Hamilton has decided to stay and continue to actually push forward with another season was due to the fact that he does want to win an 8th Drivers' Championship. And I think the reason why this is so important is because this would actually cement him as one of the best drivers in the world ever of all time, and it would put him past Schumacher, where they're both tied for 7 right now. However, if they are rewarded this win, Lewis Hamilton would finally get his 8th, and he can finally retire happy and cement himself as one of the greatest drivers to ever do it. Now, Mercedes boss Toto Wolff was backed up by Ferrari amid FIA's Red Bull investigation. Ferrari chief Laurent Mekies has joined Mercedes Toto Wolff in pushing for Red Bull's racing finances to be investigated in case they have exceeded the cost cap. The freshman has demanded an actual transparency from the FIA regarding last season when Max Verstappen lifted the title after a controversial victory on the final day of the season. Allegations have surfaced that Red Bull's spending last year surpassed the cap of 114 million, though Christian Horner's team have denied those claims. The FIA are expected to release a statement addressing those claims on Wednesday, where we will learn the punishment imposed on the team if they are found to have overspent, though a fine could be deemed the likeliest precaution for Red Bull to deal with, assuming it is a minor breach. Mekies have called for the FIA to deal with the matter seriously. He told Sky Sports F1, "We take this situation very seriously seriously. We expect resolute actions from the FIA. We trust the organization 100% because it has gained a strong position in recent months. We expect severity in the matter and transparency that we can compete with each other and the same rules apply to everyone. If Red Bull are found to have breached the competition rules, then many will feel that Max Verstappen's title victory is tainted, especially given he topped the leaderboard by 7.5 points after winning the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Mekis continued, "The consequences are huge. We need to establish it first, but then it is important to find out what the consequences would have been in 2021, 2022, and even 2023. Wolff too has not been subtle about the implications of what Red Bull may have done and the overall effect it may have had. He told Sky Sports F1, "The crucial part is that you've been over in 21 years, then you've been over in 22. This means you have an advantage into 23, so it's a cascade of events that have been influential in all of the 3 championships." And I do completely agree with what Mekis actually has to say. I think obviously, kind of the saying goes, once a cheater, always a cheater. So obviously, if they are found out to have cheated and actually exceeded that cost cap, then I think it would really taint not only their history, but also for their future in F1. Now, Christian Horner blasts Mercedes and Ferrari for bang-out order accusations. Christian Horner has blasted Red Bull's rivals for total unacceptable remarks about his team, alleged budget cap breach, and hinted at possible legal action. Mercedes head of motorsport Toto Wolff told the PA news agency in Singapore that the catalogue of potential penalties is huge. If we are talking about something big, amid reports that claim Red Bull may have gone 10 million over budget last year, that was the season, of course, in Red Bull's Max Verstappen pipped Mercedes Lewis Hamilton to the Drivers' World Championship in controversial circumstance. Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko has expressed concern that information to which only the team and the FIA should be party until any official details are released have been leaked and deemed it defamatory. Horner used the same word as he hit out Mercedes and Ferrari, with the Italian Giants team principal Bonotto having previously inferred both in May and August this year that he was perplexed at how Red Bull are able to afford certain car developments under the budget cap. "We were a little taken back by comments that were coming from 2 of our rival teams yesterday," Horner told reporters. "The submission between the team Red Bull and the FIA is one that's confidential. I've had no idea what the outcome of our rival submissions are or the accounting treatment or so on, so I would be intrigued to know where their source of information for their fictitious claims have come from. They're hugely defamatory and we take an umbrage to them. Only one can assume it's not coincidental that this is at a point where Max Verstappen has his first strike at the World Championship. And how on earth do they have this information? Where do they have this knowledge? The FIA have even stated that even completed their process, so unless there is a clear withdrawal of those statements, we will be taking it incredibly seriously and looking at what options available to us are. It's absolutely unacceptable to be making comments of the type that were made yesterday that are totally defamatory to this team, to the brand, and even to Formula One. I would be intrigued to know whether the source of information has come from. With Red Bull ahead of second place Ferrari by 139 points in the constructors standings and 170.4 points clear of 8-time consecutive champions Mercedes, he suggested it may as well be a case of sour grapes. It is, of course, a process that one of the administration of the FIA has inherited, and they are looking to do the very best job they can. But I just reiterate, what is totally unacceptable is for teams that are not party to any form of the submission to be making claims about our submission. About prospective penalties, it's just bang out of order. Perhaps when these accusations are made, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. I think it's an underhand tactic deployed to detract from perhaps a lack of performance on the track this year. And of course, when references are made to last year, this year, next year, we will take this extremely seriously. This is an issue for the FIA to deal with, but also an issue for Red Bull to consider what our position is with those comments that have been made. Now, after this was mentioned, Wolff actually dismissed Red Bull Legal's threat as just noise. Mercedes team principal Wolff has brushed aside the threat of legal action from Red Bull as just noise, as Christian Horner has accused Wolff and Ferrari sporting director Laurent Mekis of making defamatory comments with regards to rumors of spending beyond the budget cap last season. Horner made it clear that unless there was a withdrawal of the comments, then Red Bull would look to options available to them. Asked whether he was worried about being sued, Wolff replied, "I don't see that happening in this interview. Maybe I should spend more time watching it. That's noise. At the end, there is a process. On Wednesday, there are going to be certificates of compliance that are going to be issued or not, and then if somebody has not completed it or compiled with the process, there is a process and governance is this in place. For me, I am 100% sure the FIA is going to do the right thing, so everything else is just chatter until then. Plus, it is important that the cost cap is being compiled too. It is a cornerstone to the new regulations, and I very much hope that all the teams have done that." Wolff has 100% confidence in the FIA. At present, speculation is Red Bull has breached the $145 million budget cap for last year by more than 5%. Which, if true, carries severe penalties, which includes Max Verstappen being stripped of the driver's title he won last year, whilst that there is an extreme punishment. Wolff is fully unexpecting the FIA to apply appropriate sanctions should any team be found to have gone beyond the cap. "I have no reason to doubt the FIA will not 100% act on their own governance or their regulations because they know how important it is going forward," said Wolff. "We're all aware of the regulations, but be it technical, sporting, and now financial, have to be regulated, policed in the right way, and we just need to adhere. 100% confidence in the process and in the FIA, and that is why everything else is just noise." So when it comes to all of this, there is even still more to it. But what I did want to talk about is also Daniel Ricciardo may be on his way to Mercedes, and it is looking more and more likely. So despite Daniel Ricciardo will not race next year in Formula 1, it is almost certain, thanks by McLaren at the end of the season, even before his last year of contract, the Australian is about to step back on an otherwise saturated transfer market, at least devoid of sportingly interesting opportunities given his curriculum vitae. Haas F1 team, where Mick Schumacher is in the hot seat, was his only chance to continue his Grand Prix career in 2023 without making up the numbers, and Gunther Steiner, the American team principal, made him an offer indicating that it was up to him to accept it. The latter was never interested and refused. Why? Because he made the difference as explained on Thursday. "I'm still inclined to stay in Formula 1, and of course, plan A is to be on the grid," he said. "Nothing has changed, but I just don't want to jump into the first bucket that comes along," he said. "I know that the landscape will probably change also at the end of next year with contracts and so on, so I don't want to say that I remain impatient, but that I remain open." It was in this capacity that he opened his mind to working with a leading team as a reservist, and it is certainly something realistic, he admitted. After the refusal opposed to Haas, the Australian third in the World Championship in 2014 and 2016 was thinking more specifically of Mercedes. The Perth native have clearly taken a step closer to Toto Wolff's stable, as he was seen walking out of Gray's hospitality on Friday, and what he did not hide. "I'm not trying to see the next 12 months or even the 24, he specified. His plan is clear: avoid being forgotten by showing up in a big team, knowing that many drivers' contracts will expire at the end of 2023. So this is really important to see, and when it comes to what is really going on, I think Daniel Ricciardo would be fantastic for someone like Mercedes. Mercedes have done a fantastic job so far this season, really keeping it together, especially due to the fact that they really did experience a lot of porpoising issues early on in the season. Now, they may not be able to win the Drivers' Championship or the Constructors' Championship, but with everything that is going on, I love how they are looking towards the future and what is best for them. And I think getting someone like Daniel Ricciardo as a reserve driver will be fantastic. Maybe if I'm putting this all together with all the news that has been going on, we all know what's happening with Red Bull. So, as you all know, Red Bull is experiencing what they've always experienced, where they have actually been caught cheating. And if Red Bull is seen as cheating, they would obviously crown Lewis Hamilton the Drivers' Championship from last year the win. And I think this would honestly make Lewis Hamilton retire a happy man. I really do think that if Lewis Hamilton won last year in Abu Dhabi and won that Drivers' Championship, I think he definitely would have already left and retired at the top. There really doesn't get anything better than Lewis Hamilton's career. He is getting a little bit older as the years go by. You know, he's won his 8th World Championship and he continues to impress everyone. So I think that would have been a good time to go out. But now you can tell he's definitely just trying to chase that 8th. And is it possible this year? Probably not. And it's probably not going to be possible. But next season is probably where it's going to happen. However, I think if Red Bull's caught cheating and he does win his 8th, I could see Lewis Hamilton actually leave this season and end it all due to the fact that he has 8 under his belt. And then, you know, maybe we can see Daniel Ricciardo come in from there. there. I think Daniel Ricciardo still has a lot to give. Yes, he is a little bit older, but he's not actually as old compared to someone like Lewis Hamilton. He's definitely got a lot more years left, and I think he just hasn't been given the right team and the right car in order to make a complete difference, especially in F1 racing. McLaren, I think, is a great team, but I think McLaren just doesn't really suit to the way Daniel Ricciardo works, the way he actually drives, and all of that. Lando Norris has been doing pretty good for McLaren, so I don't really see it as an issue when it comes to, their car being really bad, or maybe the driver really being really bad. I just really do think that there's just something else going on. Maybe the chemistry between the two are just not there between both parties, and I think that's why they decide to actually leave. They are getting another Australian driver in Oscar Piastri, but I think Daniel Ricciardo can definitely still have a lot to prove, and coming to Mercedes would probably be the best way for him to do that. Mercedes is still a great team, and I think next season they're going to have a lot of things under their belt. We will be going through a video soon about that, but when it comes to what's going on right now, we definitely got to wait to see on Wednesday whether Red Bull is going to be caught cheating and whether they're going to be stripped from their title. I think they personally should, but let me know down in the comments what you think, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Peace.